Very, very good evening, friends. Uh, this is Mona from the Readers and Writers Club. And for the next 50 minutes, viewers, book lovers, you are going to enjoy yourselves listening to two very talented and eminent personalities, uh, the author, Kochery C Shibu, who will be discussing his book, Amongst the Believers, with academic and professor Dr. Debnita Chakravarti. And we really are looking forward to a very engaging and invigorating session uh, following my introduction. So I will start with Dr. Debnita Chakravarti, a very brief introduction. She is Associate Professor of English at Sri Shikshayatin College. She is associated with Calcutta, Jadavpur, Vishwabharati, and Xavier's universities as guest lecturer, resource person, and examiner. Her doctorate degree is from the University of Reading, UK, followed by a postdoctoral fellowship from the University of Southampton, United Kingdom. She secured a first class in both her graduation and post graduation at Jadavpur University. Dr. Chakraborty has published widely on romanticism and popular culture, fiction, graphic novels, film, and television in volumes by Pearson, Ashgate, Routledge, McFarland, alongside academic journals. She has been the plenary speaker and delegate at several national and international conferences. As an extension of her professional avatar, Dr. Chakravorty has written, edited, and reviewed freelance for leading English language dailies and magazines, published a novel, several poems, and essays. She won the Travel Writer of the Year award from the Independent UK and is a regular conversationalist at literary festivals. Those in Calcutta, we all know how popular Dr. Debnita Chakravarti is as a speaker, and we are so fortunate to have her with us this evening. Thank you so much, Debnita Di, for coming this evening on the Readers and Writers Club platform. Thank you.
My
I take
pleasure. Thank
Thank you. I take great pleasure in introducing author Kochery C Shibu. He is the best-selling and award-winning author of Men and Dreams in the Dhaladhar, and Faith and the Beloved is a graduate of the prestigious National Defense Academy, Khadakwasla. Has served in the Indian Navy and commanded two warships. Post his retirement, he has executed hydroelectric projects in the Kochery River Basin in Karnataka, Bias River Basin in Himachal, and the Teesta River Basin in Sikkim. He holds a postgraduate degree in defense studies from Chennai University and an MA in English literature from Pune University. Shibu has changed tack from the snow-clad mountains to the blue oceans and has been associated with the setting up of a shipping company in India. Amongst the Believers, a suspense thriller, is his third book. A passionate and committed writer, Shibu creates a magical world of fiction built around a well-researched background. Kochery C Shibu was born in Kochi and now lives in Bangalore with his wife and daughter. Congratulations once again, Shibu, and we are very fortunate to have you with us at the Readers and Writers Club. And over to you, Debnita Di, for a fantastic 45-minute session on the book titled Amongst the Believers. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Thank you,
very much,
Mona. Thank you so
Mona.
much.
Thank you. Thanks for the very generous introduction. And thank you to the Readers and Writers Club, this platform, which offers us this amazing opportunity to talk about a remarkable book. We at Kolkata, we have a very rainy, unseasonal May evening, and it's the perfect evening really to talk over a cup of tea and some, uh, maybe some fried savories. A book like this, which is such a page turner, such a fast paced espionage thriller. Uh, I mean, I've read something which is this compelling after a long time. And congratulations, Shibu, on a wonderful, wonderful achievement. Loved reading the book. I will, as I said, it's a thriller. It's a spy thriller. Uh, and I think that those of you who are in the audiences now or will be watching this recording later, you will go away with a great desire to read the book if you haven't already. So it will be very unfair on my part to give away anything of the plot. I won't go there. I will leave that treat to you to discover languorously in a leisurely manner. But what I wanted to ask our eminent author today is a little bit about the crafting of a masterpiece. And I'd like to start, Shibu, by asking you about how this novel came to be. What was the, why did you write this book?
Well, writing a book, of course, is every author will think about plots and themes in his mind. The plot has been turning in my mind for quite some time. As I've said before, the writer in me has been goes a long time back to my school days. I studied in a school called Loyola School in Trivandrum, and from there I was fortunate to go to the Dali College in Indore. Both these places were inspirational in bringing out the creative aspect of a student, if I put it in that level. Of course, as a career soldier, you never get time to write fiction novels or even think about it. So there you are spending your time writing about tactics, strategy, and warfare. But that background does come in handy when you're talking about this kind of a subject. One of the reasons is that that our environment, if you see in the last 20 years or so, the international environment and espionage based on the subcontinent, actions based on the subcontinents have happened far more in the last 20 or 30 years than much before that. So that is one of the reasons. So in the last book, in my second book, Faith and the Beloved, I had covered the LTT and that terror angle of LTT and the
Right,
network of LTT,
right.
which was Sri Lanka based and but spread all over the world. So
Yes,
this
and
is another
culminating in the
dimension. So
26/11 Mumbai attacks.
that is
It,
true. So
yes,
now here also now when you talk about 26/11 Mumbai attack, there is always two aspects to these things that when you those with a military background will know it is not possible for anyone to carry out that kind of an attack unless there is military training behind it. So definitely there is a military mind, a number of military minds who have trained these people who did that 26/11 attack. Of course, the men who came in may not have been soldiers, but definitely there is a military behind because it calls for a large and extensive amount of research, preparation, and logistics, gathering of intelligence, putting of people in place, and controlling the operation, which they did. Unfortunately, even our television channel supported them unknowingly in the beginning. Of course, they covered later. So these are aspects which, one of the idea was to even sensitize our people as to how the terrorism is a real threat, and all of us need to be aware as to the degree to which people can go and what all can be done And this book has been, in that exercise, a large part of it has been to bring out what goes behind the making of a terrorist, the training camps, and how people get caught into it, how people volunteer into it, how they're trapped into it, and what happens when people and the innocents get caught in this kind of terror warfare and what do you call that international strategy and the espionage all put in together, which is what happens. So this story has got some of it was some people who are part of it and some who are not part of it, but all of them caught in the same situation and then finding their way out of it. So it does not just come about like that. There's a lot of research that went into it, 2 years of research, and then I came about with this concept and this novel.
Right, right. And as I was reading it, and today when Mona did your introductions and I was reading about you, I it struck me time and again that this is a book uh, that it found its perfect creator in you, because with your background in the defense services and your passion, I would say, for literature. You've done a degree. How many people in the defense services have got a literature degree? I don't know anyone who's done that. Why did you do a degree in literature?
Definitely, it was towards writing only because that is one of the things that I was posted on the what we call a second posting I had to National Defence Academy when I was in the staff there. That is an 87-89 period. So when I wanted to write, I was talking to the English professor there whom I used to associate with, and they only suggested that you broaden your horizons further. It's not enough to read. So then I decided to take up MA English Literature, and it has been quite an eye opener because whilst you read a lot, it gives you a structured curriculum and you understand how that, literary theory, literary criticism, how various authors have written over the years, how things change, how the society affects the writers, how the writers affect the society, and so many things you learn, not from an academic point of view, but very much to a writer's thinking. It has been a great kind of background which has helped me to build my writing on. Definitely, yes. And it was with a clear idea that to write fiction in future that I took up English literature. And it is true, career soldiers and English literature is a rare combination.
Absolutely. And I was super impressed because, it just shows your focus. And if you call it strategy, I'll go along with that. It was all part of your strategy to be a writer and the dedication. And I couldn't help but be impressed by this. We often think of doing things, and it would be nice that if I knew more about this and got along doing something, but to actually step out and to do it, I think really shows your commitment and also shows us, the readers of contemporary fiction, who's always on the lookout for a different read, a memorable read, that this is an author who we must look out for in the future. I was looking at your past books, from Men and Dreams in the Dhauladhar, which was 2015, a very a personal story, would you say, of an underdog who strives and overcomes mountains of obstacles, if you want, and from there to more towards the territory of the present book, Faith and the Beloved, and from faith to the believers is not that great a step. That was 2020. And I can see how you're moving more from the personal to the political, without losing your focus on the personal all the time. But I'll come back to that later, just because we talked about the masters in English. It's so much my territory. I'm tempted to ask you about the authors you really enjoyed reading during your course and who you feel have been uh, influences on your writing style.
So the readers, authors, yes, they have read a large, wide spectrum of English authors from all kinds, fiction, classic literature, thrillers. But if you ask me an English author, R.K. Narayan, no doubts, without
Oh,
even batting an eyelid. He's not a
right,
thriller writer, but
right,
he's the best.
right.
So then, of
Right.
course, there are
And I
so many of the
can
Indian
think,
authors and Western authors, but I have not been
right,
impressed with
right.
anybody more than R.K. Narayan. R.K. Narayan is kind of a
No,
masterpiece.
he is timeless, I think. And
Yes,
the
he is.
kind of,
Yes, he is.
and because he is, I mean, only the great can be that simple. That simplicity cannot come from anything other than sheer genius.
True. That is
Absolutely.
always a
He is,
challenge. I agree. I agree.
yes,
Classical writing without getting into thrills and action, it really requires mastery of the craft. You have to be a master craftsman
absolutely.
to write like him. He's, I would say, I
True.
mean, among all my what I've read, he is without doubt. Anytime you ask me, his name will come.
Right, right. He is a perennial favorite. And when we talk about this firm focus on the personal, where even when Arundhati Roy is talking about in The God of Small Things about how the roller coaster of history rolls on in its uh, unstoppable momentum, it's the personal stories which are important, which get crushed under that huge time roll of history. And if we look at your work, we see that even though your vista is extensive and getting bigger and bigger with each work, at at every moment, I think you are focusing on the personal amidst the political. It is a vast vista that you're talking about, and even there, your heart is firmly with the protagonists. Would you say that you are writing about fictional characters in a real background?
That has been the aim because I believe that I have been a very voracious reader myself till I started writing in 2009 when I stopped reading fiction. I said uh, that was a deliberate choice to say that I would like to develop my own style of fiction writing, which is not affected by anything that you read during that period. So I have not read
Hmm.
fiction since 2009. It's almost 14 years now, 15 years. But prior to that, I used to read extensively. And one of the things I used to appreciate is that even in a fiction novel, if an author brings an authentic background and the reading becomes what I would say more convincing, and you think that the story is more believable, even though the characters are fictional, maybe situations are fictional. I believe that is that's an important part of fiction story writing to have the background as realistic or as close to the detailing that you can get. And anyone who reads it and anyone from that part of the world or who's associated with the domain that you're discussing should know, should feel, okay, this is how it is or how it most likely would be. And fictional characters, in my writing style, I always focus on what I call, the character-based writing, where I focus on, I flesh the characters out and I spend a lot of time in that, in researching for characters and character sketching and developing their traits and building the value system and making sure that you yourself don't kind of cut corners as you're building the book. So yes, finally, this anything any place is about the people. It is not about the machines. It's not about the bullets. It's always about the people. And unless the characters come live, I believe it's not you're not doing justice. Notwithstanding however how much ever thrill you can build into it without playing with the character. So to that extent, yes, that has been the effort to bring in realistic background and fictional characters who come alive to the reader. And I believe that each reader who reads a novel sees a version which will be different from another reader and should be so. And that experience will also be different because it will be tempered by his experience of the past and his views on various subjects and how he sees things, or he or she for that matter.
Right, absolutely. And uh, I mean, otherwise, the book, no matter how competently written it is, will read like a soulless endeavor, don't you think? If the people are not alive, And when you say that the characters, you've researched the characters, do you feel that if you research them enough and you make them living, breathing people, people we can
You should,
we
because
feel
I'm
that
sure
we
you know
know
that.
them? Yes, sorry.
Yes, that's a charm. That's a charm.
Yes. So, but once they are there, once these people are alive and up, then do you feel sometimes that, you planned the book a particular way, but when you're writing, you feel that, no, this character is not going to do this. The character revolts in a way and wants to do something else. Has that ever happened to you?
That challenge is always there in writing because, and even though you have a plot in mind, in my case, I always take some time. Initially, I flesh the characters, then you build a plot around. It takes me some time before I can see all the characters and the full plot playing in my mind. So, in the first book that I wrote, it took me 4 years to write, but it took me 2 years before I could get that, the whole plot in my mind. Before he had the whole story playing in my mind. This book also, it took me about 2 years research, and when I started writing, it took me a fair amount of time before I had all the characters, places, because it's a very vast spectrum. So, you have time, space, you have various characters, various gangs, various people. Sometimes, I mean, at times, at least some of the readers have asked me, you're making it challenging for the readers who make it so complex. I said, that's not the endeavor, but this game is played like that. The game is played like that. When events happen in the espionage world, nothing is what it seems, because it's something like, you unless you know the script, you never know what is seen is not what is being scripted. Something else is happening. So it's like,
Right.
always you allude to Mahabharata and say, so it like this whole espionage game is like that. And when you write a thriller, it will have so many elements of this which will be placed around and played around with. So a lot of detailing takes place, and when you work with it in your mind, sometimes you had something in mind, and sometimes you find that situation doesn't permit you. So yes, changes do take place in what you wanted the character to do or how you wanted the situation to turn around. There is a certain amount of evolution in the writing as you're writing the book. That is true. It does happen.
Right. And when you're talking about research, a book like this, which is spread over, the better part of the globe, really, how do you research a book like this? What is the process apart from being
No,
absolutely on top of current affairs?
current affairs is one part. That is one
Mm,
part of the story. See, the thing is, one of the things I do is, that I keep doing research for my novels as a way of life. I've been doing that. So you keep, for example, you see an event which happens today, which I think is out of the ordinary, and take a note of it. It may be a murder which has happened in some place. It may be an attack in some place. It may be some maybe terrorist strike in some place which is not in India, or it may be an action of a covert organization, or maybe a CIA action or a Mossad action which has been exposed. So these are things which, when you see in the news or a media somewhere, then you get into it to see that who did what and what are the various stories being told about, and what is your own assessment about how it could have been done. To give an example, see, some of the times you should appreciate how, that I'm just giving you some kind of, pure military stuff. Let's say there is an event which took place 2 years back. The Nord Stream pipeline was blown up. It was blown up
mm, mm,
on one
mm,
fine day.
mm,
Okay. Now it is not clear even today as to who has done it, and it may not come out also. But let's say,
mm,
if I were to do this, I were to planning to get this executed. How would I do it? Let's say if I were to do this, I'll give you examples on how this is done. Let's say I was to be on the American side. I'm not casting any aspersions. This is an academic analysis. So let's say if I'm sitting on the American side, I say, okay, for whatever reasons, I've been told I need to go up the Nord Stream pipeline. The only condition that I am given is that it should not fall back on me, that it should not be traced back to me. So I said, all right, I'll do it. So I make a timeline. Okay. So I said, I'll blow it up. I need explosives which should belong to Russia or Russian fraternity. So I source a material of explosives which can be used, which is of Russian origin. So that explosive which I used, once it is discovered, will not come back to anybody other than a Russian origin country. Then I look at as to who will do the job. Okay, I decide that, let's say for argument, I tell UK, okay, you use your special services to go and blow it up, but that's a master plan. Nobody else should know about it. So you make a plan that you will send your divers to go and place explosives so that it will explode maybe 45 days later. You identified a spot, you did that. You made a plan. This is a top secret which nobody should know about. It is known to only maybe 2 or 3 people. At the next level, let's say you call in Ukraine and tell them, we'll help you blow up the Nord Stream pipeline. The same area where you plan, you give him, you say you use Russian explosive source from a third party, take a team, come to Germany, hire a boat, and carry the explosives, go to these places, be at there at this time and space. We will tell you what to do and when to send your divers. And they actually do follow the plan and say that these people should have fictitious passports. And after let's say the mission is over, they should just vanish. So you have got a few Ukraine origin people who are coming to Germany, hiring a boat, going to some place. And they have traveled to these places where the explosion have taken place. They come out, they vanish. So this become what I call a credible threat which is to be found, but not easily. The next I say that, I go and hire Chechen rebels or somebody who has got an axe to grind with Russia. Maybe Chechen rebels, maybe some other guys who's known anti-Russian stand. You bring him in and bring him in a little frivolously, and that he makes about moving over his movements and makes some threat, and he's seen procuring equipment and he's traveling in that area, and he also is seen in the area. Then fourth, what you do is in and around the time when you are placing the explosives, you make the NATO countries and the ships move around that area so that in that same time window, you could have 4, 5, 6, 7 countries which are involved in the same spot. Then after the event takes place, when the investigation starts, after some time, the Chechens or the people who are anti-Russia, they will be caught. So when they are caught, they'll realize that's been a kind of bluff. It's a facade which has been pulled over. So then they get searching seriously, and then they'll track on to the Ukrainian team which has come about, who have vanished. So then the second story, they said, yes, these people could have done it. So they will go to the satellite pictures, they'll see who all have been in that area. So they'll find a number of people who are there. So they'll say, here is a Chechen, which was what we call a red herring. The Ukrainians who could have done it, but you're not sure because they're not there to verify. They vanished into Ukraine or they've just vanished from the earth. It could have been 5, 6 others. Now, this is how this. So when the degree of, let's say, the covering that you do, it's called 1 level, 2 level, minimum of 3 level. If you want to keep it even more difficult, go 1 more level up. It will cost time and money. So if any of these actions that you see, so what is scripted, what comes out is not what at all what it is supposed to be. So someone has scripted it, so they want that the first part should be found out. It being played like that. Okay, someone will give a tip off that maybe Chechen rebels are involved, so the investigation will go there. They'll catch hold of some Chechen rebels, and it'll come out that somebody has paid the money. They did collect some explosive. They did travel in that area, but they'll claim that no, we have not done it. Then the second guy comes in, then they say no. Extend your search, then you'll find a boat. They say there's some Ukrainians who came and hired it. So they were there. So they could have possibly done it, but Ukraine will deny it. At some point, the Americans will tell Ukraine, okay, you accept, you people did it, so at least you're planning to do it, so take the blame. In reality, you will never know. It will take quite some time before it comes out, whether it was Americans, the Ukrainians, the Russians, the UK, anyway, I don't know. It's anybody's guess. So when this gets built up, so an average reader who doesn't, if you don't get into this thinking in your mind, won't be easy. You will see why so many people are going around the same thing. So many of these things, when you write, it is not only just research. A lot of the times it's about, there is a famous saying that we say, battles are fought and won in the minds of people. Unless you can win it in your mind, you cannot win it on ground. So it's all about a mind game and how much you can think and how far you can think and how much you can outwit whom you're trying to. So that will come up in this kind of writing always, and quite a bit actually.
That was absolutely mesmerizing. Thank you for that. For several reasons. Number one, it's like a game of chess that you're playing in fiction. It's no less than that. It shows that you are a defense strategist, which is why this novel could not have been written by most people. And another thing that I'm so struck by the fact that you are able to take a situation and then play it so many ways and get into what if. That what if is something that you are able to imagine very, very strongly, like you just demonstrated. uh, Two things from this. The first thing that I wanted to ask you, many times when I was reading the book, characters like Rekha or Khusro, when you are drawing these people up, how do you get under their skin? How do you get into their mind frames? Because these are people who are very different uh, in so many respects from who you are as a person. How did you manage to write them?
That is it's a challenge for every author. I agree that getting into the skin of the character is what I call the most challenging part, because you do a lot of research. uh, like the first book when I wrote, I remember that there's a lady who was a Kathak dancer there also, and I thought I'd done a lot of research and wrote maybe a few paragraphs about the performing artist, and the editor told me, "Shibu, you haven't got a pulse of the artist; it's just academic writing." I was very offended, but she said, "No, you haven't understood. It is not about the technical writing about dance that you're talking about. You're talking about the emotions and feelings of the dancer, which has not come through." So she asked me to go and meet a dancer, which I did, to a dancer who does regular dances, and saw her perform, then saw her teaching some class. Then spoke to her about the same thing without telling her what I was doing, but this discussion. Then I understood what the editor was telling, that uh, it is, you see, the novel writing is always about the people. It is not just about, like, it's not about the gun or the barrel alone. It's the thought of the man who's wielding that. So yes, when you write this, getting into the skin of the character. For example, if you talk to any military guy, whether you talk about an AK-47, Kalashnikov, .38, .45 Colt, it'll come like back of the palm for most of them. But if you ask them about the thought process of the man who's handling, if 200 guys handling the same weapon will think differently, never will talk of the same. So I suppose yes, it is a challenging part, especially when you're creating a character like Khusru's. It's completely on a
Hmm.
created. It's like with a value system which is questionable. Many people are questioning me why you. It almost
Hmm.
conveys that he's a terrorist but still a good man. I said, so what is wrong with
Hmm.
it? So someone asked me that. I even told him this. In Ramayana, when you read, Ravan is a
Hmm.
bad guy. He's a villain.
Hmm. Hmm.
But after abducting Sita, there is never an aspersion on him having for misbehaving with her. So even for a what you call a thoroughbred villain like him, there is a good aspect of him even there.
Hmm.
Or if you change the perspective and say that, let's say he's a brother, his sister has been mutilated by somebody. Do you expect him to sit back and say, take it? So the problem started because his sister was mutilated by somebody. He has taken revenge in his own way.
Hmm.
So a lot of the times when you change the perspective, your color of the story changes. So even in like Ramayana, they say that if you have someone like Ravan, who is a terrible guy otherwise, but he has got some good qualities. At least everyone says that he treated Sita with respect. He has not misbehaved with her. She came back the way she went. So, which is a great thing, even for a otherwise a man who's painted as a monster. So
Absolutely.
everywhere. So characters are, nobody is black and white. Everyone has got a shade of grey. And of course, when it comes to terrorists, we tries to show a human angle. It is a
Hmm.
reality. Finally, they are all
Hmm.
human beings. Nobody's a robot. Nobody's a robot.
Exactly.
And same thing
And
with
which is why
so
Rekha is Rekha's love for Khusro, and at the end of it, it's a love story, isn't it? It's a beautiful love story in the at the heart of it all. So that comes out beautifully.
It does,
And
it
that,
does. But then it is again the question of forbidden love.
yes,
So,
yes.
what is acceptable to society, what is not acceptable to society? I mean, these are things which, like uh, love does make people do strange things. There is a case, I don't know, I have mentioned this before in my interviews. There's a case of a lady in UP who in colluded with a lover to kill her parents, a brother and a sister-in-law and a child, about five, six people, axed them to death because the family didn't want her to marry somebody. She was a double postgraduate and this guy was not even a graduate.
Okay.
No, she is subsequently been found, guilty and sentenced to death. She's still waiting for will be the first woman to be hung, I think, in case it goes through. She's been there for, I think, 13, 14 years. This event is 2013. So there, when I read the story first, I said, it cannot be. This lady has been framed. That's the first thing that comes to your mind. That, if you take the Hindi heartland, it's very easy framing somebody. That's a normal thing there. So we read through the whole thing, and as slowly things churned out, then you realize that, one couldn't believe that in India, an Indian daughter would, collude with a lover to kill her parents and your brother and sister-in-law and, small children and all, for the sake of love. But then somebody has done it. Such strange cases do come in. So
Yes.
when you make characters and make their actions, yes, at the heart of it, what you said is true. There is a love story at the heart of it. But then it comes with a lot of social pressures, conditions, what happened to human beings, how much can you chase, and where does it end you?
A love story which has to live out in the real world, which is less than ideal, far less than ideal.
Yes,
And
true.
the second thing from the story that you were narrating is that, uh, have you ever felt that you got too close to the bone and have caused discomfort, political discomfort for your readers? Has that ever happened? Because when you're doing this, and I mean, has it ever occurred to you that you might be closer to the truth than most people would want you to at points?
No, one part is in writing, whatever information has been used is open source information.
Okay.
So there is no information that has been used that is not in the open domain or in the open source. So that's
Right.
one part. And that
Right.
every soldier has got that commitment of, that some secret should die with you and that it stays. That's a soldier's life. So that part has to be there. You have to be very clear in your mind as to what you can write and what you cannot write. So what is any kind of classified information is not to be used. So any information that is used is open source, open domain information. But of course, when you conjecture and put pieces together, it's like, traditionally what in the recent couple of months you've been seeing so many conspiracy theories. So this is not a conspiracy theory. You cannot make conspiracy theories, but you have to think it through. It is fictional, but maybe it is true. There's no way I will know. I do not know the truth. This is a fictional variation of the truth. Maybe it
Right.
is actually said that only the people who have done the deeds will know whether it is truth or not. So to that extent, I don't think it should be discomforting because I
Right.
have no access to the truth in any of these things that I've written. But
Right.
yes,
Right.
you have access to the information which is available in the media, which has been used to give what you think is a perception of truth in a fictional story.
Right. Right. And we are, I mean, we don't have a lot of time. I mean, I could just go on asking questions about this, but I really have to ask you about whether you're thinking about turning this into an OTT series, because that is how it reads to me. It reads like almost, I mean, the screenplay is just one step off. Is this an OTT series that we are getting to see very soon?
Or against, when I'm writing the novel, that has not been the criteria. Writing the novel has been with, the story that plays in your mind. But yes, I do agree in the sense that I have this limitation that when you write a scene, you get a lot of detailing before I can really make that scene into the book. So a lot of detailing, which many of the when you, it's a lot of effort. Sometimes the effort that you're going to be disproportionate, but that's how I work. Possibly why? Yeah, because I also believe the story has to play out in my mind. Then only I can. And I, at some stage, if the story is not playing out in your mind, then I think the story is not doing well. At some stage, because initially it will not, but somewhere along the line, as you're writing the story has to play out in your mind, then only you can steer the book. You have to have the story in your mind. It's playing in your mind. Then you can write, and potential for OTT, that I agree, but that I'll see at
Yes,
an
it
appropriate
would
time.
make a lovely series. I'm sure about it. And we'll get to the last question. And I'd just like to tell Mona and Shushruth that if there are questions that I'm sure Shibu would like to answer them at the end of our talk. And I wanted to end by asking you about your future plans and what the next book is, because I'm sure you are working on the next one as we speak, right?
I am actually. I am working on a sequel to this. This novel somehow
Okay,
has
right,
caught me also. This
right,
novel has kind of caught my interest more than the normal level. So I thought I'll write a sequel to this.
right,
So
right.
I just started. So that is a work in progress. But I'll just that much only I can say.
Right.
There
And
will
do
be
you
a
have to
sequel which I've
travel a
started.
lot? Do you travel a lot when you have to write for your research? Or is it just the internet work?
Uh, no, actually, as part of my work, I've been associated with setting up a shipping company. So I have traveled a lot to the Far East, China, Europe, and a lot of traveling I've done. So that does come in handy because you
Right,
don't need to travel for the purpose of writing. I have been blessed that I have had the privilege of being, having traveled extensively. So I use that quite a bit in the writing.
right,
So if you have
right.
traveled to various places, it's easier to correlate and write. Otherwise, it's not that easy.
And is this the genre that you would like to continue with in the future, or do you have other genres in mind that you would want to experiment with?
At this point in time, I'll continue. But my wish list is to if you ask me, you should write like R.K. Narayan. But it's not easy. I tried in my
No.
first book. I tried in my first book. Then I realized that now it's only took 4 years. Then I realized, wow, what a master guy he is to write about ordinary people, ordinary life, and then make it so interesting. So it's not easy. See,
Absolutely, it's not.
otherwise, I mean, see, if you don't want to get into detailing, easiest is the love story triangle, where you just talk about emotions and people and forget about the background. That I will not get into that. But in any kind of story writing, there has to be some kind of human element. So love stories will be there, but not in the front, but always in the background.
Absolutely. And I mean, until and unless you try your hand at writing, you will never grow that kind of respect for what it is that authors do and authors manage to accomplish. And anyone who's tried writing even a simple short story will have a greater understanding, as I'm sure many of our readers will have. And all I can say is that if you haven't read the book yet, uh, please do that at the earliest. And I can promise you a very engaging read, a very different kind of read. And it'll between the covers, it's just like it's an entire world, to be honest. And it you will travel from your armchair and you will go to cultures and places and meet people who otherwise we will not have had the opportunity to do in our very limited lives. So thank you, Shibu, for opening up this vista and taking us into the depths of political subterfuge and conspiracies and making our I mean, I have had a very exciting fortnight with the book, and I wish the same for our readers. Is there any questions that the readers are asking, Mona?
Thank you,
We don't
Debnita.
have any questions. We listened very intently to this discussion, and I'm now even more excited because we might be really having an OTP series, as you suggested. And what a wonderful discussion. It was so informal, so engaging, very interactive, very personalized. Thank you so much, Debnita Di, for making this session so very, very interesting, despite readers not having read this very, very wonderful book as yet. But being a book lover myself and an ardent reader, I request all our members to purchase a copy of Amongst the Believers. It's available offline and online. And Shibu, we are waiting for your next book. What else can I say? You're prolific. And you, both of you, and this is from my heart, are an inspiration to upcoming writers and aspirational authors and young writers. So, thank you so much for this very, very wonderful and enlightening conversation, and wish you both the very best in all your future endeavors. Thank you so much on behalf of the Ahava Readers and Writers Club.
Thank you. I wish that we could have done this offline, but I'm sure we will get to meet sometime in the near future. It
Shibu
would be
has
great
to
to
come
do
to
this in
Calcutta
person.
and enchant
You know?
the readers. We are waiting for him
Yes,
to
we'd love to
zoom
do
down to
that.
Calcutta.
And I was in Starmark the other day. I think the book is available there. I saw it from a distance.
Yes,
I didn't get to go far,
yes,
but because I was reading
yes,
it, the cover was very familiar. So all the best, Shibu,
yes.
for all your future endeavors. You
And
are a
maybe
real
we also
inspiration,
are
like
waiting
many
for
say.
a novel from your end to come out as well.
I am
And
just too laid back and
both of
lazy,
you
you
are
know.
very
It takes a lot
humble,
of work.
very, very
It, no, no,
humble.
it takes a lot of work. And but
You
yes,
have to make
people
the
like
time.
Shibu are real inspirations, to be honest.
Absolutely, and
So,
especially for young writers, both of you, an academic and a defense expert. What else can I say? What a combination! It's a privilege for the Ahava Readers and Writers Club to have had you. Thank you so very much. Thank you so
thank
much.
you. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you,
Bye.
Debnita. Thank you, Mona. Thank you so much.
Bye.